Okay, so the Mishnah had said that there's a machlokes tanoim as to whether if you have an bechor l'davar echad, if it's the firstborn, but it had a previous sibling that came out Yetzer Doifet, right? Or the opposite, if it was the firstborn, but it came out Yetzer Doifet, right? Or the one afterwards is the first petarechen, right? But it's not the first one. It's number 2, but it's the first petarechen, right? So we said there's machlokes tanoim. Rav Tarfon is mesupik, and Rav Akiva is midin vada. He holds that it's not a petarechen. It's not a bechor. Okay. So says the Gemara. Tanu Rabbanan michlal hatzorich leprat u'miprat hatzorich lechlal. This is a quote from a brisa in Taras Kainim, I think, where it's saying the different midas that Taras Drashas by. One of them is michlal hatzorich leprat. There are certain times the pasuk says a klal that needs a specification, needs the following specification that the Torah does say. Sometimes it's a prat hatzorich leklal. You have pratim that need klalim and klalim that need pratim. For example, Ketzad. Kadesh li kol bechor. Pasuk says Kadesh li kol bechor. Sanctify every bechor. Yachal afilu mikeva. I might think even the keva is b'mashma. Maybe bechor is even under keva because bechor just means firstborn. Tamad loymar zachar. So therefore it says b'feirish the word zachar. Okay, that Rashi explains it's not a klal atzarach leprat. The klal does not need the prat because the klal is very understood. Bechor means everything. The prat is not redefining the klal. The prat is just limiting the klal. Right? The bechor we know bechor means firstborn, and it would include nekeva. So comes the prat and tells me, do you think it means also zachars? No, I'm going to limit it to nekevas. Even nekevas, I'm going to limit it to only zachars. Okay. Continues the brisa, and this is going to be the klal tzarich leprat and prat tzarich leklal. Zachar, if you tell me it's a zachar, yachal afilu yaftas on a kevel lefanav. I might think once you tell me all we care about is a zachar, so maybe even if it had an older sister, but we're talking about only zacharim, so this is the firstborn son, even though there was a daughter before. So what? We should all go by the firstborn sons. So yochal afil yatzis on the kevel lefanav tamaloymar peter rechem. It says peter rechem. So peter rechem means you have to be the first one out of the womb, and if you had an older sister, you're not the first one out of the womb. Okay. Now this is a klal hatzarich leprat. Why? Because I might think that it includes. Now that we're saying it's zachar, I might think so it should include even zacharim that aren't exactly the firstborn; they're just the first son, right? So comes the prat of the Torah, peter rechem, the words, and redefine the klal. It tells you, no, it's not just a bechor; it has to be a peter rechem, right? So that's a klal. It's tzarich leprat. It's not just any zachar that's first. No, we're telling you a pshat here. We're telling you a redefinition. We're saying it's klal tzarich leprat.
Why is it any different than the first one? It's limiting the klal, just like the first case was limiting klal. You have a klal, right. We're limiting it.
I think the pshat is because we're not changing what bechor means in the first pshat. First pshat, we're not changing what bechor means. The same thing. We're just saying which bechor are we talking about? We're talking about a zachar bechors and not a nekeva bechors. And that.
We're not limiting zachar in the second case. The first case we're limiting the klal.
The klal of bechor, we're saying it doesn't apply to everything, right? We're going to limit it. When I say zachar, you know what I'm. We're
not limiting. We're adding to. In the second case, we're adding to. In the first case, we're not adding to.
Right. I mean, we are detracting in the sense that it's not going to apply to a zachar that had an older sister. Right. It is being mimayit something, right? But it's adding to the actual definition of what a bechor is. It has to be peter rechem, right? But in that sense, it's changing the criteria.
Right.
It's not just limiting it.
Right.
So therefore, it's a klal tzarich leprat. And the same thing we see the opposite. The next part of the brisa that you have a prat that's tzarich leklal. Why? Because continues the brisa. Peter rechem. If now that I taught you, it has to be a peter rechem. So yachal afilu yatsa achar yatzid ofin. Also, maybe even if it came after a C-section, It's a petarechem, right? So now, are you telling me you need petarechem? You need a zachar that's petarechem? Okay, great. So this was the first petarechem, even though it had a sibling that previously came out, the C-section. Bechor. Right? So therefore, we need the word bechor, which means firstborn. Right? So that's a prat. You have a prat, a prat within the definition of the word bechor. We're saying that it means petarechem. Yeah, so I might take it very literally. Therefore, you need the cloud bechor, which tells you no, we're still dealing with the firstborn. It has to be the firstborn. Okay, so that's the Brisa is trying to show us the different midas of the Torah and the Joshua, how the Torah is written. Michlal tzarich laprat and prat tzarich michlal. Okay, now the Gemara is going to analyze the Brisa and ask on it from the sugi we saw in the Mishnah. So the Gemara is saying like Amar B'Shravi la Abaye. Reisha loy kanasiv la Talmuda bechor. In the Reisha, right? We're not talking about the Reisha where we mimat the kevas, right? The Brisa has three parts. It has Kadesh Bechor Yachal Afilu Nekeva b'Mashma Tamalomer Zachar. That's the takeaway to kevas. Then there's the middle part is Izachar Yachal Afilu Yatz. That's what we're going to be focusing on. Izachar. If now they tell me Zachar Yachal Afilu Yatzis on Nekeva Lefanav, I might think even if there's a Nekeva before it, Tamalomer Petarechem. Says Reb Shravya, in this situation, why not? We know that it says Bechor, right? And if Bechor means that it has to be a full Bechor, not just L'Dover Echad, right? Meaning the word Bechor is right in our Mishnah we have the concept of Bechor L'Dover Echad. You're either the firstborn, but you're not. You're either the Petarechem, or you're the first. Or you're the firstborn, and you're not the petarechem, right? The Mishnah talked about bechor l'davar echad, because a yetzer doifen. Good morning. It's a bechor l'davar echad, right? It's the first one, but it's not a petarechem, right? And haba acharov, right, is a petarechem, but it's not the firstborn, right? So that's called the bechor l'davar echad, right? So Rabbi Akiva holds that the word bechor means you have to be a full bechor, right? So now Rabbi Shravya is gonna try to analyze what the Brisa holds. He's gonna ask a kasha minebe on the Brisa. There's the inherent contradiction, he says. Why? In the Reisha, we're talking about a case where a zachar that had an akeva before him, right? So now, if the word bechor means bechor, you have to be bechor l'kol advarim, right? So then, if we know the word bechor, so then it's a firstborn. Over here, he had an older sister, right? So Alma. So what do you see from that? Bechor l'davar echad have a bechor. Even though it's a bechor only the davar echad, not legabe everything, it's still called a bechor, right? The word bechor doesn't exclude bechor l'davar echad; it includes it also. But seifa is kanasav l'talmud bechor. But then the seifa, when we're talking about yotza achar yotza doifen, and you tell me tamalomer bechor, right? Oh no, it's not a bechor because it's only a petarechem and it's not the first one. Right? So the Brisa's usage of the word bechor is confusing Reb Shravya. He says, if in the Sefer you're using bechor, because the bechor is telling you can't just be the first petarechem, you have to be the first one also, not just the petarechem, right? Okay, so then in the previous step, why don't you use the word bechor to tell you can't just be the petarechem, you have to be also the firstborn. If the word bechor means everything, means bechor legabe everything, so then you don't need the word bechor should teach you about the first step in the Reisha too. So Amrlei, so Abai tells him back, really, you're right. That bechor l'davar echad is lo yav bechor, and therefore the first step makes sense because you need the word pet because just because that we have the word bechor, I still might think because he's the first petarechem, he's still considered bechor. So what's this? I'm sorry. So the Sefer makes sense, right? The Sefer is saying Bechor, you have to be a full Bechor. The Reisha, right? So why don't we use Bechor in the first case? The Reisha Achi Kamar. Zachar Yachal Afilu Yotzed Doifen. It's not saying Ba'achar Yotzed Doifen. It means we're before that. We don't know that a Yotzed Doifen is Pater B'chlal. So he's sort of changing gears of the Brisa. Instead of saying Izachar Afilu Yotzed on the Kevel of an older sister. No, I had an older sister. It's not a Bechor. Of course not. Right? So therefore, no, he's changing it. He's saying, Zachar, Yachal Afilu Yotzed Doifen. He didn't know the concept of Petarechem B'chlal yet. Right? He's saying maybe even a C-section is fine. Tamaloymer Petarechem. But Avada, once we know that a Petarechem is the definition of what a Bechor means, so then you have to be a full Bechor. You have to be the first, and you have to be Petarechem. Okay, so he really changes the price. Ravina Amar, no, Bechor. And therefore, the Reisha makes sense because you need, right? Because the word Bechor doesn't exclude an animal that wasn't the firstborn. It's Bechor Davar Echad, it's a Petarechem, it's fine, right? I'm sorry, it's a Bechor Davar Echad, it's the first Zohar, so I would think it's fine. The Seifa Achikama, but the Seifa, this is what the Seifa is saying. What's the Seifa saying? It's saying, I Petarechem Yochel Afilu Yotza Achar Yoitze Doifen Tamulayra Bechor. Right? Why would I think it's not the firstborn? If you're telling me, right? If you're telling me that b'chol davar echad have a bechor, it's enough. So why isn't it enough for it to be a petarechem? Says the Gemara, if you're telling me that really yotza achar yotze doifen is kaddish in a bechor, so is kaddish so bechor the kasav rachmana lamali. Since he's not saying that bechol the davar echad is loy have a bechor. No, it's have a bechor, right? It's just still what do you need the pasuk of bechor? Just a regular drasha. It's a drasha that he's saying. What do you need the word bechor for? So, if it's coming to exclude if it's coming to exclude the case where we had an older sister, so then we petarechem nafka. We know already that it has to be petarechem, and this guy had an older sister. It must be the word bechor is coming to exclude that. But once it's telling peter, so it's just a regular drasha. Avada, in terms of the definition of bechor, bechor davar echad is have bechor. Right? But what the Brisa is saying is that the word Bechor is just extra. What do you need the word Bechor once you have Petarechem? And therefore, we're saying the word Bechor is coming to exclude the case where it's Ba'achar Yotze Doifen, where it had a previous sibling that was a C-section. Okay.
So you have to say Zachar, though.
Well, you have to say Zachar, yeah, because that teaches you that the cave. Right? We would think the cave is Bechla. Okay. I don't think so. Amar there, Rabbi Ravina. Rabbi definitely tells Ravina. Ravina was the last sheet that we just had. If you're really sticking with that sheet, the bechol davar echad have bechor. So teina chechad yatsa zachar. So and you're using the word bechor just to teach you the case, just like a regular drasha, right? So teina chechad yatsa zachar. Yoitze doifen. Right? If the first animal that came out was a zachar al yidei yoitze doifen, and then zachar derech rechem, the loy kadosh, right? In that situation, you have the pasuk to teach you that it's not kadosh because it's ba'achar yoitze doifen. Right? So what we're saying is really it's called bechor. Right? It's considered bechor. Just because we have an extra word bechor, therefore we're going to be mimait the case of yotza achar yoitze doifen. It says which case of ba'achar yoitze doifen are you going to be mimait? Well, you have to do the lower chiddush, right? The first chiddush. What's the first chiddush you would learn? Is if the first yotze doifen was a zachar, and then the second petarechem, the second animal which was a petarechem, that was also a zachar. In that situation, you'll say the imut leida, or take out the word leida, but the imut mi bechor. Then it's going to be excluded from the word bechor. The bechor l'rachamim ika bechor l'zcharim leika, because you have the first. You have the bechor of petarechem. Mitzad petarechem, you have bechor, but you don't have the first zachar because the previous zacharim. However, if you have a case of a C-section of a nekeva, and then the next animal was a zachar derech rechem, likdish, it should be kadosh. Why da'ika bechor l'zcharim? Because it is the firstborn zachar u bechor l'rechem, and it is the firstborn that came out of the rechem, right? And therefore you shouldn't have a pasuk. The word bechor shouldn't help. Okay, so we must go back to Abaye's sheet. It's a kash on Ravina. We're going back to Abaye, who explained that bechor davar echad lo yavet bechor. Right. So basically, what we're saying is that Ravina, you wanted to explain that the word bechor is teaching you a mute. It should teach you one mute. It should teach you the limited case of when the first yoitze doifen was a zachar, and then the second animal was a petarechem that's also a zachar. In that situation, since it's not the first zachar, we should say it's not a bechor. Right. But as long as you still maintain your shita that bechor davar echad have a bechor, right? So if there was an akeva that was a yotze doifen first, so it should be fine, right? So must be we're saying we have to go like Abaye who says bechor davar echad lo have a bechor. Okay, and you have to change the price so like Abaye did. Okay, hajan Allah halakech uber parosos. If you buy an animal from a non-Jew, you're not sure if it gave birth already or not, if it had a bechor or not, right? You don't know. So Rabbi Shmuel Omer, Eiz bas shnosa. If you have a bas shana, a goat that's 1 year old, so vaday lakayev. So if it gives birth, and if it's 1 year or less, it's for sure. And it gives birth, for sure lakayev. Because he seems to learn that before that it's not going to give birth. Mikan ve'elach suffik, but after 1 year, it's a suffik. You're not sure. If you bought it and had a baby after 1 year, I guess if you bought it after 1 year, right? If you bought it after 1 year, and then it has a baby, it's a suffix. You're not sure if it had one already or not. Okay. Rachel bas shtaim, by a sheep, it's 2 years. If it's 2 years old, so then it's vaday lakayin. 2 years or less, vaday lakayin. Mikan ve'elach suffik. Para v'chamor, an ox or a donkey, b'nois shalish. If it's 3 years or less, then it's vaday lakayin, because we assume it didn't have a bukhar before. Mikan ve'elach suffik. Amar Rabbi Akiva, it says Rabbi Akiva to Rabbi Yishmael, ilu bivlad bilvad habehem nifteres. You would be right only if only a vlad patters an animal from a bechor. What is he trying to say? He's trying to say that if only if you have a full-fledged vlad, right, then the second animal is not a bechor, right, because you already had a bechor. The second animal is not a bechor. Then you would be right, because we know this animal. An A's less than a year, or Rachel less than 2 years, the others less than 3 years, right? We know they did not have a full-fledged baby yet. It's impossible. I guess scientifically, they're saying that it wouldn't have happened, right? But says Rabbi Akiva, even if it didn't have a full vlad, if it had something that resembled a vlad, an abortion or some type, not an abortion, a miscarriage or something, right? So in that situation, according to Rabbi Akiva, he's saying if it's something substantial, like we'll see, he'll list, right? It ends up pattering the animal from Bechor. That one is called a Bechor, and it's possible it's nothing, right? Because it's not that it's nothing. We'll see, but it's
There's no Bechor
there. There's no Bechor there, but the second one is not, the second one is not a Bechor, because that first miscarriage, that was the Bechor. That was the Petarechem. The second one is not a Petarechem anymore, right? So says Rabbi Akiva, you're right, Rabbi Shmuel, that it'll never give birth to a fully fledged animal before, but maybe gave birth to a quasi animal which had a din Petarechem, and then the second animal won't be a Bechor. Right, so that's what Rabbi Akiva is saying. So, ilu bivlad bilvad habehemin ifteres. If only with a real vlad the behemoth would be putter from bechayra, so then kidvarecha. Ela amru, but amru chacham. I guess it means like we say that simin havlad bebehemoth daka. That a sign to know that what came out of the animal is a vlad is bebehemoth daka is tinuf. Tinuf literally means. Dirt, but right. I think it means some type of blood. The Gemara, Rashi says Mefarish Gemara. Exactly what it is. Uvegasa shilya, and a big animal, a birth sack. Uveisha shapir, and in Isha it's like Rashi is or tzuras avlat. Shapir is an actual fetus. It looks like a fetus. Right. So all these shapir vishilya, both a shapir and also a birth sack. These things are considered of substantial petarechem that the next one won't be a bechar. So you see, so you see that even if it's not a full vlad, that could be exempting the animal from the petarechem, right? It's already a petarechem, and therefore Rabbi Akiva says that even less than a year this thing could happen, and therefore maybe if it has the animal now, it's not a bechar. Zaklal kol sheyadua shebichra. Only if you know that it mamish had a bechor, then ein kan l'koyin. Kol shaloi bechor. If you know that it didn't have a bechor, harei l'koyin. Then it goes to a koyin. If it's a suffix, yachal b'mumalei bailim. If it's a suffix, you'll eat it with the bailim gets to eat it. You have to wait till it gets a moment. Then it's the moment of the bailim. Okay. Mikan ve'elach, says the Gemara. Amai suffix, says the Gemara. Right, we said that the Rabbi Shmuel's shita was that after 1 year, after 2 years, after 3 years in parva chamor, right? So then it's a suffix, right? Because you're not sure if you bought an A's 1.5 years old, right? And so now you're not sure. Maybe that baby, it could have had a baby, maybe not. So you're not sure. So amai suffix is we should go basar. The majority of behemoths are behemoths misabers v'yoldis. Most animals are misaber and have babies, right? So then why do we assume that it's midin vadai, not a bechor? The animal that gave birth by you is not a bechor because Mustaman had an animal, Mustaman had a kid. Right? Roiv behemoths misabers v'yoldis. We have a ruba the lesser come on, right? It's a cloud that we have. The roiv animals have kids in the first year, and therefore we should assume that it had a kid, and therefore the second one is not a suffix bechor; it's a vaday not bechor. So therefore, and bidin vaday, we should say that it gave birth. It says Rabbi Shmuel holds like Rav Meir. Maybe he's chayshish lemiuta. That there's a miut of animals that don't give birth within the first year, and therefore it's a suffix. Maybe he never gave birth, and it's a bechor. So the Gemara says, "Afilu teim rabbanon." Maybe we could say even it's the rabbanon. Ki azli basaruba. When do chacham go basaruba and they're not chayshish lemiuta beruba? They say, "Come on." In the case of roiv that's in front of us, it's it's not just a general natural thing that roiv animals aren't treifa. Roiv animals give birth in the first year. No, it's a statistical roiv that's in front of us. Going teisha chanuyas, like if you have 9 stores that sell kosher and 1 store that sells treif, right? So and you find a piece of meat, so you could say called a pirish meruba pirish, and that's the isa come on because we know statistically there's 9 stores here, there are 9 kosher stores and 1 not kosher stores. Sanhedrin also is when you have the majority of rabbis passing one way. That's the numbers are all in front of us. Aval rubad leisikamon, maybe but rubad leisikamon lo yazli rabban basaray. So even the chacham over there holds choshen miut. Over here we're rubad leisikamon. Says the Gemara, no, you can't say that. Katan uktana, because the case of katan uktana, the rubad leisikamon, it's a case of rubad leisikamon v'kazir rabban basaruba, and still they go basaray. What's the case of katan uktana? What does this mean, katan uktana? Ditnan, we have Mishnah Yivamas, katan uktana, if you have a katan uktana that are a yavam or a yivama. Our brother, right, his brother died without kids and left over a wife that's a ktana. Right, so, or the yavam, his brother is a katan. So what do you do in that situation? You don't do chalitza and you don't do yibum. Why don't you do chalitza? You can't do chalitza because ish kasuv b'parsha. Right? It says if right, so he's not an ish, he's a katan. And therefore, if she's a ktana, she can't do chalitza either. Even if he's a gadol, but if she's a ktana, she can't do chalitza either. Right? But matam ein miyabin. Well, why don't you do yibum? Right? It doesn't say ish l'gabi yibum, it says ish only l'gabi chalitza. So katan is only possible for chalitza. Amar lahem katan shema yibum tzisris. The katan because he didn't grow up yet. He didn't hit maturity. He didn't puberty, right? So we don't know if he can have kids or not. Maybe he's going to end up being a sris. Tana shema timatza islandess. Maybe she's going to be an islandess also. She won't be able to have kids. And v'nimtzu pagin be'ervan. Once you're someone who can't have kids, you don't qualify for yibum because the whole idea of yibum, the Torah says v'hoya b'chara shev teilad. She's going to have a kid, and that's yokum al shev b'chiv hameis. The idea is to have a kid, right? So if you can't have a kid, you're disqualified from yibum. And in every situation when you're disqualified from the mitzvah of yibum, you right away retract back to the isra shesach because usually you can't marry your brother's wife. It's only if you have the heter of the mitzvah of yibum. But once you're disqualified from the parsha because you didn't have kids, so you go right away back here the isra shesach. Right, so maybe if she ends up not having kids and not being able to have kids, she's an islandess, she can't have kids, or he's going to end up being a sris, he can't have kids, so then they're going to be disqualified from yibum, and then they're going to be pageh be'erva. They're going to be it's going to be isra shezach. So says Rav Meir, you can't do that. You can't let them get married. You have to wait. Rabbanon hold no. Zil basar roiv ktanim go, but roiv ktanim are healthy, right? They end up being able to have kids. Roiv ktanim lav srisim ninu. They're not going to be srisim. Zil basar roiv ktanos. Roiv ktanos lav islandis ninu. They're not going to end up being islandis. Elamarava, right? So basically, we're showing that even that it's only Rav Meir, right? Rabbanon, right? Rabbanon, even Ruby the Lesser come on. They hold you go basar the nachoshish l'miyuta. El machavartek Rabbi Shmuel is Rav Meir. It's really the chayish l'miyuta. He is choshish l'miyuta. Ravina just has the last teretz. No, I feel the same Rabbanon. Even though Rabbanon choshish l'miyuta over here, Kiazin Rabbanon basaruba. That's Baruba delay toli b'maisa. That's in a roiv that's not totally in a maisa. We were saying right that Rav Ktanim will automatically become healthy, childbearing people, right? Aval Ruba Detoli b'Maisa, but over here it's a Ruba Detoli b'Maisa. Because someone had to come and let the animals mate. The animal had to come and mate, do a Maisa. It's not an automatic zach. In that situation, they might be choshish l'miyuta. Okay, so maybe our mission is on even the Rabbanon.